Welcome back to another episode of the Phoenix Truth Rising Show. And this is Spaceman 2.0, here to help you grow in the knowledge and wisdom of the truth. Here to present chapter 6, I believe. Still, we're on. No, chapter 7. We're finishing off today with part 14, From Here to Armageddon. The Path of Progress and DBBs to test and weed. So we'll continue on. Where are they? The discarnate souls attach themselves to their victims from the astral side and are enabled to participate vicariously in the old habits by urging these unfortunates to indulge as they had once done. Beyond a given point, you can be completely possessed and therefore forfeit any control over yourselves. Do you see perhaps why we plead, preach, and insist on moderation in all activities and intake? You can become a helpless pawn in the clutches of the satanic demons and drunkenness, etc. You will be struck harder if you are what we call a worker. And an etheric being. Involved in this transition circumstance. How better to get you? They will cause you to take actions which will ensure your own human counterparts, police and justice system, take you out or cause you to take yourself out through suicide or accident. The path of progress. I should note here, however, that these dark souls who are in the lowest and darkest astral levels are not confined permanently to those levels. If at any time they are able to raise their vibration and spiritual insight high enough to gain access to the higher light or to the lighter and warmer levels, then they are welcomed into those levels. Now, do you think that might be one heck of an accomplishment? Some of you ones should remember very well. This process is not automatic. The darkened soul of low vibration literally could not gain access to the higher astral realms while he remains only at a base vibration. To place him in such a high frequency would cause him great pain and suffering due to the mismatch between his basic nature and that of the higher astral realm. Therefore, he would immediately return to the darker abodes where the pain is less. It is only by raising one's vibration to match those at the higher astral levels that any soul can gain access to them. Now, I am reminding you, dear ones, that this is similar to yourselves trying to get up a beam of a beam ship and into etheric presence. It also entails us lowering our vibrations into your boundaries. A hard job on either part and most uncomfortable for both parties involved. But now, let us go back to the DBBs, for there is an important difference. The entities in that brotherhood are able to shield themselves from the pain of existing in a field of light and love because of certain mental techniques which are known to them. Again, Satan is a master teacher. This technique allows them to have access to all of the astral realms as well as to the physical plane, ahoy and aho, if there were not some law restraining their movements. Well, relief, there is such a law. It had to be decreed because of the vulnerable human souls on the earth plane and those sojourning between lives on the astral. In the case of these dark entities, a superior force was brought into play which normally does not permit their free movement, but which can be suspended under certain circumstances. This force fully restrains all of the dark brothers and is such that they cannot annul it. For you impatient ones, I will get there. DBBs to test and weed. We have spoken of the suspension of the restraining force under particular circumstances, and now will further explain. Previously in this journal, I spoke of the important function of the DBBs toward the human race, namely to test and weed our poor specimens, those without the resolve and insight to allow themselves to advance to higher spiritual realms by increasing their vibrational frequencies. I emphasize that at the time of the setting up of the DBE, human beings were by no means all equal in characteristics. Some had developed great wisdom and insight through the efforts put forth in the long experience since their beginning on the earth. Others had never bothered to investigate the purpose and goal of their sojourn in the material plane, and were possessed by very little insight or discrimination. Possessed of. The function of the dark ones was and is to facilitate the division between those wishing and able to advance and those who had doomed themselves to failure. It is very little different in perception, however, It is greatly different. You can no longer drift about in ignorance of a journey intent, for the play is ending for most of the players from the cast. It is time to get on with deciding which play you want to go on with. Don't shove forth that old just be and it will be all right. No, brothers and sisters, it will not be all right. It is time for the choosing up team players. Only in this game, you choose your team. Not the usual way it's done, with the captains of the team choosing. They are, however, allowed to court and tempt you any way they can through mental manipulation and human weakness. But both teams want strength, so you who are so mamby-pamby you can't even decide what you will do today, aren't either desired particularly nor weeded away. You are the ones who end up last in the selection and usually end up the loser. Your new agers who contribute more damage by being in the way of progress than any other contribution. You do not hinder the Dark Brothers, for you act as obstacles in the path of light. But they don't particularly want you either, for they know they already have you through weakness and ignorance. You have already drifted your way into what you would identify as your own enemy's camp, while you are showing the world how wondrously pure you are. Satan gets a lot of kicks and laughs at your expense, for you will continue to be right on into his eternity. In order to allow the DBBs to carry out their function, it is necessary to allow members under certain conditions to gain access to other planes and regions that are normally denied to them. The permission, however, must be properly requested and then granted. The matter is never solely up to the DBBs themselves. When a DB asks to be allowed into a given plane, it must present its reasons, and it must offer something in return to the White Brotherhood, which is the broad term defining the spiritual hierarchy of this planet. For example, we at this level are a part of the White Brotherhood. Generally, any specific request coming from the DB, and which involves actions or access normally not allowed them, must be accompanied by an offer of equivalent advantage for the White Brotherhood, like, what will you give us, White Brotherhood, if we leave Dharma alone? You can easily see we have not made that particular bargain as of yet. Dharma tested. As these offers and counter-offers are made, they are made before the mighty council and or cosmic council of the spiritual hierarchy, which may or may not give its assent to the exchange. The final decision is made at a very high plane, effectively beyond the level of any commitment to one side or the other. To be specific, with an example, there was a point during the early development of this receiver, like day before yesterday. No, I jest, for it was a week or so ago, when a spokesman of the DB proposed that they be given access to the receiver for a period of time, so they could attempt to move her away from her appointed task. The plan was submitted for a decision, and the effort allowed. We had no particular fear of her moving away from us. We keep her too busy to notice anything else. And besides, we hit her with Simon Peter periodically to keep her humble. So they were granted the ability to tamper with the substance of the information, not the substance of the human receiver, except as they could convince her she was too ill or too weary, etc. At first, Dharma had some confusion, for I was also plugging in my circuits, and it was and still is a miserable time. Always, you hit the receiver at a time of confusion and change over to less familiar energy frequencies. Aha! Now the punchline, and don't one of you ever forget it. Never, never, never. It had been agreed that in answer to a direct question, the Dark Brothers would be required to admit to their identity. This occurred, and Dharma won the round. Hatan had trained her well. Brothers, be most grateful. Now what did we gain? We gained the ability to tell you ones this information, that you can combat their attempts to dissuade you from your mission. Dharma went blindly along with her clearing, and although it remains unpleasant for her, she has sustained a level of receiving which is unsurpassed, and I salute her for this marvelous strength. You ones in this little group have had a most painful time of sequence hereabouts, so be it. Let us have a break to renew a bit in the light of with the dew to stand by. Ashtar out. So with that being said, we'll finish off that part 14 for today. Then we'll get into Chapter 8, Part 15 next time. The bad seed provides DBB's entry, and violence, aggression, war, the Martian influence. We'll get into that. So, may you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit that like button. And remember, if you see a cloud like this in the sky, it just might be a ship on watch, and maybe one of our higher universal man, Ashtar, and other angelic beings that are here to help us. Maybe they're commanding these ships. So maybe we ask for help from our higher universal man outside the ice wall, and that know the truth, and may they help us to be set free from the satanic elite forces. So with that being said, God bless. Have a great day. This is the Spaceman 2.0 with the Phoenix Truth Rising Show. Chapter 14 is over and out. And I'm out.